Right, good evening and welcome along to 90 Minutes Live Football Life Stories. This is our series where we're chatting to people involved in local football, and I'm delighted to welcome along not only a friend but a work colleague as well. He's played for one of our local teams in Buntingford Town, currently playing for Hinton FC, and also a local referee. It's Scott Langley. So, Scott, thanks very much for joining me, mate.
Good evening, Si. Thanks a lot for having me.
No, pleasure, mate. Absolute pleasure. So, first of all, obviously, I mean, you got involved in football. How old was you when you first took an interest in it?
So football's been part of my life since I was born, really. My dad was there, at the hospital with his Spurs shirt on the day I was born, and from as young as I can remember, I was kind of kicking a ball around in the back garden. I've got an older brother who's a couple of years older than me as well. Keen goalkeeper, which kind of made things nice in the living room and in the back garden, taking shots and practicing everything that we could. We'd spend the weekends over the park playing football, and I got involved with my first local team when I was about maybe 7 or 8, involved in terms of playing. That was with my friends from school. One of my best friends, his dad was running the team, and things kind of started quite slowly. I had an opportunity to play lots of different positions and just get a feel for things. And sort of after a few years, that group, we stayed together and we started getting really successful. A couple of cup runs, promoted through the divisions up until sort of the top division. Had a look at the time. It was out in Norfolk for a team called Case the Roma, and I was spotted with the Norwich setup there. So I was on the books with Norwich when I was 15, 16. Played in a couple of combined county games, and then it was just kind of through into sort of my teenage years, through into university, early 20s, mid 20s, up until sort of where I am now. Just turned 30, and still going strong. Still got the fitness to be able to play. Positions changed a little bit. Often when kind of I've got friends and they'll ask my dad, what was he like when he was a boy playing? And I used to be that tenacious kind of holding midfield player. I used to take a lot of pride out of kind of going in, winning tackles, winning strong tackles, and having the discipline to allow sort of the other players to go forward and express themselves. So that was kind of me. I then moved out wider, so I played kind of off the wing, right midfield, and then slowly slotted back into right back. And currently now I switch between sort of right back and the central midfield, holding midfield role. So it's been part of my life for a long time.
You say you was involved in Norwich, because I know you was born around this area. First born in Enfield, I think, wasn't you? And then you moved up to Norfolk, moved back this way. So when you was with Norwich, how did you progress from that? When you said you was there with when you was 15 or so, how did you progress from there into men's football?
So when I was with the Norwich setup, I'd kind of been scouted through the club team. As I said before, we'd been quite successful following one of our county cup finals that we'd won. I got invited over for a trial, and they took me on from there. And then when I was at my last year of high school at the time, I dislocated my knee playing rugby for the school team. And that kind of ended things pretty sharpish in terms of being that age. And all in all, I was out for close on to about 10 months. I didn't have any surgery on it. That's what got me then into kind of like my coaching, my refereeing, which I know we might maybe have a chat about in a little while. So I was then back to sort of club football again, and like I said before, playing with friends and people that I'd known for so long, up until it was university. I moved again, studied up in Liverpool for 3 years. I was involved with the men's first team up there, and then in my final year I took charge. I was the manager of the university second team. We had 5 teams at the time, so great time, great experience. And then after university I moved back down to Enfield, which is where I was born, raised. Most of my family originally are from there, and got involved with my local team, which was Hinton, which still is my local team, the team that I'm playing for last season and again hopefully next year. And just again, like, the feel of the place was great. During sort of after I graduated from university and I returned back, I was more involved with the coaching side of football as opposed to the playing. So there was probably maybe 5 years where I was out of the playing arena, shall we say, and a lot of my time was done with my coaching badges and with the refereeing side of things.
So with that, you said about the coaching side. We'll touch on that briefly just now. Was that purely because of that rugby injury?
Yeah, that's what got me involved. And at the time when I was at college, I went to the sixth form college and I took part in a course which was called the Sports Performance and Coaching Education course. It was brand new, and I was sort of 16, 17, and I was already doing my level 1 coaching badges for rugby with the RFU, basketball with England basketball. I had my badminton license, tennis through the LTA, and also I then began with like the football side of things. So yeah, that the injury kind of pushed me down that route, and then I really followed it on, which also helped me with my career, because I've been involved in sports coaching and then teaching for sort of the last 10 years or so.
Yeah. I know you because you was a teacher and you was coaching the local school side as well, weren't you?
Yeah, I oversaw the school sports teams, all of them, football included, girls' sides, the boys' side. I was then involved with the football setup at Broomfield Academy, which then became Pro Direct Academy, when that was all getting off the ground down in Pro Direct BXB, Broxbourne. We grew the club tremendously before I made the decision to take the step away from there, and again kind of focus some of my time onto the playing, which I've got back to enjoying at that point.
So let's get on to the officiating side of things. You've said about your playing and about your coaching. What first sparked your interest in that side of things?
I actually first started officiating when I was about 16, 17. I used it as pocket money. I used to do youth games, girls' games for the local teams. And, it'd be nice then to be able to put your petrol in your car and buy a few drinks with your mates on the weekend. That's kind of what got me involved. And then when I was coaching, because we had so many teams and we were paying out most of the time a fortune, the clubs would be paying out for all of the referees across all of the age groups. I'd be doing kind of my Sunday mornings if I didn't have my team, or I'd be doing 3 or 4 games back to back to back. And I think that kind of threw me in, and I just kind of got a bit of a knack for it. So off the back of that, I then went off to my local my local FA, which is the AFA. They're absolutely fantastic. Put me onto a course, sat the course alongside about another 20, 25 people at the time. And initially I didn't sign up with a league. I wasn't being given matches every kind of weekend, but I was having my phone ringing every sort of Friday evening, Saturday morning to say, any chance you could come and kind of referee our games. And then off of the back of that, we were kind of getting managers from local teams saying, do you know what, like, he's really good. Like, would you mind if I took your details? Would you mind if I took your number? And I started kind of taking higher games and higher games without really going through the promotion scheme until quite recently, where I decided, why not? As I'm slowly starting to step away maybe from my playing side of things, I want to be involved in football in some capacity. And I really enjoy the refereeing part. It's a challenge. It gives you a different view. And there's a lot I can take from my playing side and my coaching side. And I try to apply that when I'm refereeing, when I'm in the middle of the pitch. And that's for all age groups. I do sort of under 18s games, adult football, and I'm also next season going to be on the promotion scheme for the women's game as well.
Yeah. I mean, you say about that. So, I mean, you say about, you know, having recently only got, you know, heavily involved into it. But how quick has your progression been since then?
So last season, I was in contact with with the AFA, who have put me onto the promotion scheme, and I took this step from level 7 through to level 6, which is from a junior referee to a county referee, and through what with all COVID and everything else, it was actually quite a squeeze to get the required number of games completed. And then of those games, of course, they have assessors who will come along to have a look at how you're performing, to see if you're at the standard. And of course, you're scored and you're graded based on that. I was successful this year, so I was put forward for promotion. And I'm actually in the middle of kind of emails backwards and forwards at the moment for next season. We've got a Zoom call in a couple of days with all of the referees on promotion, just to kind of explain what the requirements are, what the expectations are. And I must say that I've been really impressed with how detailed that's now becoming. The AFA, as I've said before, I know there's a lot of great work done in Hertfordshire. I was approached by Hertfordshire FA to see whether or not I wanted to do my promotion with them this year. But I'm gonna be sticking with the AFA, just because of my involvement on Saturdays playing and being able to balance that up on the Sundays to officiate in the mornings, definitely.
I've seen a few tweets in the last, you know, couple of weeks or so about the requirements, although at a higher level. But, you know, you have to do a certain amount of sprints within a certain amount of time, and, you know, run this amount of distance within a certain amount of time, and it's quite heavy going, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think that begins from level 5 going higher. It's all now to do with recovery runs, being able to do repeated sprints. I think generally, as I play, I'm able to meet those perhaps a lot easier than if I wasn't. But I think it's really good to have that kind of level of fitness expected of the referees. Often, you know, late on in the game, in some games, you're being required to make sort of a 30 or 40 yard sprint from one kind of 18-yard box across to the other. And if you're not fit enough to be able to make that, then there are then potential question marks over the credibility. If you're going to make a decision, is it on the edge of the penalty area, for example? Is it in, is it out? And if I'm making that call from 5-10 meters away as opposed to the opposite half, it makes you more credible. It makes your job a lot easier as well. So how I look at things at the moment is I use my pre-season work that I do with my club, and that helps me with my refereeing. I think as I get older, it's going to be really important that, one, you look after yourself with what you're eating and your what you're doing after the game, to make sure that you're as fit, if not fitter, than the players that you're refereeing. Because I think, going back to sort of some of those tweets, and particularly with some of the senior referees that we've got even in the Premier League at the moment, their fitness is looked at and scrutinised under a lot more than the level, obviously, that I am at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, you said, like you say, you said you're still playing. You're refereeing on Sunday. So with playing and refereeing, does the fact that you're refereeing impact you on a Saturday with how you behave towards the referee?
Yeah, it does. It really does. I think amongst my teammates, they know that I've got that side of me. If they need someone to run the line, I tend to be the one that's doing that, or helping out. And I'm probably the one who's actually on the referee's case more than all of the players on the pitch, which I need to learn from. It's definitely something I need to improve upon, because, I look at a situation and I think to myself, well, if I was referee, I wouldn't have given that decision. But, you have to kind of take your referee hat off and you have to put your playing hat on, and then you have to kind of switch it. But what I would say is, I do try to take so much of the frustrations that I get from when I'm playing towards any of the officials, and I try to use that positively to help me when I'm refereeing. Because what I would want to see if I'm playing is so important when you're refereeing, to think, well, can I play an advantage there? What's kind of the common sense of what are the expectations of the players from me as an official, and being able to take that role as a player, going, okay, well, I like it when a referee can explain a decision to me quite clearly, so I can see that's his thought process and that's how he's got to that decision. Whether I agree or I disagree with it, being able to see that process and being able to explain it, I value that as a player. So when I referee, I really try to use that to help the players that I'm officiating to understand what are my thought processes, how have I got to the decision that I've given. And I've got a lot of really good feedback kind of post games from players about that kind of communication side of things, being able to explain a decision, being able just to take a minute and say, before I'm being asked, guys, you got 5 minutes till the half, sort of thing, before having to be asked, oh, ref, how long? Just kind of little things that I think has really, really helped me, and will help me in the future as I kind of progress through with my refereeing.
That's it. I mean, you talk about progressing. So, like you say, you're promoted to level 6. Is there a stage where, obviously you're refereeing at the moment on a Sunday? Is there going to be a stage where perhaps you're going to be refereeing on a Saturday and you have to make a decision between playing and reffing?
Yeah, I think so. So I look at it like a kind of a set of scales. My playing and my refereeing, and it's slowly starting to get to the point where I think the refereeing will take over the playing side of it. I had a thought at the end of this year, what do I want to do? Off the back of kind of promotion this year with Hinton, I'm definitely going to continue playing for one more year at least. And then it comes down to kind of the enjoyment side of it. It's the it's the physical demands, and of course, you know, it's the family side of things as well. Whereas at the moment I'm doing Saturday and Sunday. You know, spending more time with my daughter is really, really important to me. So it may be that I've just got to focus on one, and I see that will be the refereeing side of things. And then when I do apply myself to that, I'm not putting a limit on how far I want to go. I've enjoyed the promotion this year, and I like being able to kind of analyze my own performances and getting feedback from sometimes wiser or more experienced referees to say, try this, try that. And then going out the following week and going, oh yeah, actually that really worked. So as I said, for me, it's still about that enjoyment factor. And those scales are slowly kind of going towards the refereeing. And then once I step away from the playing, it will be, all steam ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from about that. We say about analysing your own performance, because there has been occasions in games where we've done videos and we've had messages from the referees asking if we've got any footage that they can help for themselves to see for themselves. But as we always say to them, the footage that we put on YouTube is what we have. But is that something that's important to a lot of refs?
I think the higher up in terms of the levels you go, I think referees really find it helpful. I think they find it useful to be able to not only look back at incidents and think, was I correct? Was it a foul? Was it not a foul? But it's the other elements to really set you out to being a good ref and a great referee. Is where's my movement? Am I picking up sort of where the ball's landing? Am I picking up the danger zones? How am I dealing with my officials? So all of the other parts that I suppose when you're playing you don't consider, but as a referee you have to look positionally as well as just the decision makings. Am I right in terms of the law? If for example I'm going to be giving a caution, am I cautioning them? Am I being consistent? Being able to look at two challenges, one that maybe happened in the 10th minute and one that happened in the 75th. How did I deal with those? And I think that really helps to get consistency within your own performance.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You said something about noticing your positions, and something you said to me before, and I've not considered it. And as you know, and people on here know, I coach an under 11 side, and we have referees, and we give them words of advice. And there was one referee. It was only his second game. He ref for us, a couple of weeks ago, and I found he spent a lot of his time, in the centre of the pitch. And you said to me something very interesting about the centre circle. Can you, explain that to everyone?
Yeah. So again, I struggled to put my finger on who the source was that told me, but they said I try not to go into the centre circle. If I need to go through the centre circle on the pitch, I think about it like quicksand, and I run across it kind of as quickly as I can to get out the other side. It's about getting sort of wider positions. It's about giving yourself good angles to be able to see things, and that's really important. If you're kind of stuck in the middle, and often in refereeing terms, we say you're looking down the barrel. If you're looking from behind or straight onto players and you're looking kind of very straight at things, you're missing so much. So positionally on the pitch, we as referees try not to spend very much time in that centre circle. And I hope all of the viewers watching this, when they next watch kind of the Premier League games, try to spot how often you actually see the referee standing in that centre circle. because it's not a lot of time at all.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, it was something I've never noticed, and it's something I've sort of like I said, I've seen a few times before, and it is interesting to see once you know that sort of that idea of things. But I mean, let's imagine it's the new season. Okay, so season started. How do you get allocated your games? And how much notice do you get? I mean, I imagine do you get a notification from like the FA player or something like that?
Yeah, so as referees, we're part of a online system whereby we are assigned our games through what's called RefSec, or referee secretary, and I would tend to know through the league that I'm affiliated to around about a week, sometimes a little bit earlier than a week, that I've been assigned to a game. I'll get an email through about that to say it's this game at this venue at this time. These are the two teams. These are the contact details for the home and the away team. It's then, as part of the league, it's the responsibility of the home or away team, depending on which league you officiate in, to contact you and to notify you. Normally it's kind of the Tuesday before the weekend, to make sure that everything's going to be going ahead as usual. There are no changes. Basically, they've touched base with you to make sure that everything's going to be okay. Normally what I do is I'll respond to them and say, if there's any changes in the week, blah, blah, blah. This is what the time is that I'm going to be trying to get to the game. And usually I'm just double checking kind of kit colours, that if, for example, it's on pitch number 2 or pitch number 3, just making sure that I'm going to be able to get to that venue in good time. And as part of, I said, the promotion scheme, I then notify if I've got an observer come into my game, I then need to relay that information to them to make sure that they're fully aware of where I'm going to be, what time, where the venue is, etc.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say about the observers, because obviously, you get people coming to watch your game and see what your performance is like. How much time or how much notification do you get on that happening? And is there any occasions when they may sort of like surprise you and turn up unannounced?
So as I said before, I upload my game because I'm on the promotion scheme. I need to document the games that I am taking. If I'm referee, if I'm an assistant referee, if I am going to be assigned an observer, I will be notified usually in that week, at least 72 hours before the game. I'll have an email because, as I said before, I need to contact the observer to make sure that they've got all the correct details as well from me. Once I go to the game, I meet with the observer before the game. I normally just kind of go through a few things, particularly if it's somebody new or someone that I've not met before. And then after the game, we then have a sit down and we talk through different incidents from the game. This year, it's been very much about kind of the match control, the level of match control, the difficulty. Am I right in terms of, like my signalling, caution procedures, general fitness, being able to keep a control on the match. As I progress through, so next season, we then get scored. So you'll get different criteria that you need to meet, and then you'll get a score from the observer. And then after all of your observations, they take the average score, and as long as you're above the set level, then you're hopefully going to be able to make that step up with the promotion. It's nice having different observers come to watch you. This season, through the AFA, I had my first observation was with a guy called Dwayne Hewlett, who's actually got his promotion to this year. And then my last observation was with Garrett. No, I can't remember what the guy's first name is. Mr. Monk from the AFA, who's, you know, in his probably mid-60s now, and both of them have really look at the game in different ways, and they're looking for different things from their referees. You might get one observer who, you know, they want to see, like we talked about before, what's your positioning, what's your movement coming in and coming out of different scenarios. Others will be about how you deal with the caution process, and you know, being factually correct in law, and often it's that chat after the game where, as a referee, you still have an opportunity to explain, well, this is the reason why I gave that. And although the observer may have a different view, you might have given a foul but they didn't think it was a foul. I'm going to give the reasons for why I have given that foul. And as long as I can back that up with law, then I'm correct. And I can justify the decision that I've made.
I didn't realise that afterwards you had that chance to, you know, to sit down with the observer and meet them. So is that the case throughout the levels?
Yeah, it is. Normally you have a sit down and you meet with them. Sometimes that can be immediately after, other times it can be at a later date. We also get a report that's written up from the observers as well. So often in there you'll have kind of 3 areas for development, 3 areas that you did particularly well in, breakdown about, you know, certain things that maybe happened in the game and the course of action that you took. And yeah, it's a lot more detailed the higher up you go. And as we talked about before, that videoing is a great way for observers to bring things to your attention, and you to kind of go back and look at to help you improve on your next games.
Yeah. I mean, taking a different angle on things, and every single week throughout the season, you'll see on Twitter people saying about a referee's mistake. You know, he should have done this, he shouldn't have done that, and you know, there'll be videos more often than not to back that up. First of all, do you think that referees get too much abuse on, you know, social media and things like that?
Yeah, in one word, yes. When we're talking about the highest level of officiating, everyone, of course, is going to have an opinion. You've got Team A versus Team B, and if you give a foul for Team A, Team B aren't going to be pleased. If you give the foul for Team B, then Team A aren't going to be pleased. So, of course, it's what it drives people to love the game and gives people something to talk about and to discuss those decisions. But when it crosses that line, if you kind of pardon the pun, and it turns into abuse directed at the individual, then that's not acceptable. We are human beings. We are susceptible to making mistakes. What I would say about all referees is that when they give a decision, in their mind, they think they're giving the correct decision. And, you know, if you count, for example, in a game of football, how many times a player has a bad first touch, but yet they're expected to have a good first touch every single time. Yeah. If they have a poor first touch or they lose the ball, you know, okay, you might get the fans on your back a little bit if you're watching, but if you're the referee and you've got that decision to make penalty, no penalty, and it's in the last minute of the game, and maybe you get that one wrong, it's of course it's under the magnifying glass. I think that people should be allowed to discuss refereeing decisions. I think it's good to be able to hear other people's opinions on constructively why they think what they think. And if it's justifiable, and that, like I say, they can back it up with law, or they can back it up with examples, then it's great to have that discussion and use it as an opportunity to learn. But if you want to get personal, or you want to vindicate people based on their decisions, often I think if you're going to question a referee's integrity, or I hate the word cheat, but you know, if you feel that referees have got an agenda against you, I think that's quite unfounded, and I don't like to see that at all.
Yeah. I mean, there has been occasions this season when we've been doing commentary, and you know, we've commented on what we feel are poor decisions from a referee. But as you touched on just then, you know, players make poor decisions. You know, poor passes. You know, managers can make poor decisions. You know, the wrong formation, or you know, fielding the wrong team, making the wrong substitution, etc., etc. As you say, you know, everyone's only human. But if there's an instance, for example, during a game, you feel you've made a wrong decision, looking back on things, you know, 20 minutes later, or half an hour later, or after a game, how do you deal with that? And also, how do you deal with managers and players coming up to you after the game and complaining about those decisions?
Wow, that's a great question, really. Going back to an earlier point, I really like to kind of explain things to players when I'm on the pitch. I find that helps. I find that they've got that understanding. But to have that conversation with an official, with a referee, there's a time and there's a place. If it's during the game and I'm getting questions or things shouted from sidelines or benches, if that oversteps the mark, then of course we deal with that following the disciplinary procedures of cards or conversations if we need to. If it's regarding a decision that I made 10 minutes ago in the match, I'm not going to entertain it. I might come and speak to you about it after the game, and we're at the bar, or you know, everyone's emotions have calmed down a little bit. I mean, I can think of a few times after the game where I've said to managers or said to players, I said, do you know what? I might have got that one wrong. Where I was, from what I saw, this is what I saw. This is the reason why I gave it. Okay, you might have had a better position, or you might have been from a different angle, and you might have seen different. I may have got it wrong. We make mistakes. There's nothing I can do to go back and change that now. You know, we learn and we move on about it. I wouldn't have a problem myself putting my hands up and saying, maybe I got that one wrong. I don't think I'd ever say, yes, I've got that wrong. But of course, you can look at things differently. If you're in the game and you're suggesting that maybe you've made a poor decision, I think that's going to attract a lot of pressure on you of you're not confident, you don't know what you're doing. Perhaps you can be persuaded or pressurized to give decisions one way or another.
Yeah. So, I mean, going on from that, so hopefully, you know, there might be some people watching this thinking of getting involved in refereeing, and you know, obviously, you know, we need to get more people involved, because there is a shortage of you know, officials, especially, you know, the younger generation coming forward. So, what advice would you give to anyone that, you know, is potentially interested?
First of all, if people are looking to join, get into football and getting into refereeing, my first piece of advice is do it, go for it. Get in touch with your local FA, find out about a local course. Often your local clubs or your local teams can point you in the right direction for that. And then straight away, you're going to be put into an environment where you've got to make decisions. That can be volunteering down at your local team. That can be, like I said, going on your refereeing course and being affiliated with a league or a division and helping out there. It's a little bit of extra money. You know, a lot of referees, particularly when you're younger and you're getting into the games, that is a motivation. But I would say be careful if that's your main motivation. My biggest piece of advice for people that want to improve as referees is to watch as much football as you can, and to watch different types of football. Don't just watch the Premier League games where you've got VAR every week. go down to your local teams, go and support, you know, non-league football, youth football, women's football, see a variety of games, because the quality of the players can sometimes improve referees by you're being exposed to all different kinds of scenarios in that regard. And finally, what I kind of do now is sometimes I watch games and I don't watch the players or the football, or are they going to have a good first touch? I'm watching the referee's position. You know, he's given a corner. Where does he go? Where does he go and stand? You know, when the ball's cleared, what's his or her next movement? And as I said already, we're seeing a lot more women coming into the game. With the World Cup later this year, we've got some female officials that have been put onto the panel, and even things like that. So get in touch with your local FA, have a go, volunteer, and I tell you, within the first half an hour that you're in the middle of the pitch, you'll know whether or not it's for you or not. So yeah.
Yes. I mean, you know, you say about, you know, women officials, like you say, you know, that there's a women's team for the World Cup later this year. Obviously, we've got the women's Euros coming up in the summer. You know, you've got, you know, women being assistant referees, I suppose I should call them, in the Premier League as well, in Sean Massey. That's absolutely fantastic to see them all coming through. One thing I do want to touch on, though, with you, Scott, there is a Twitter account, Ref Support UK, and you see a lot on there about abuse that, you know, young referees get at youth games, which is absolutely unacceptable. It's absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah.
And nine times out of 10, it's the parents that are abusing the official. So to today's youngsters, obviously, first of all, I'll say, if that's you, or you're interested in that, don't let that put you off. Report them to the club that you're officiating for. Report them to your local FA and get them banned, because that is not acceptable. But can you elaborate on anything there for me, Scott?
Yeah, you touched on Ref Support UK. I think you know, they're really raising the awareness of what match officials are doing. They provide a lot of support for referees. They've got a 24-hour helpline there for anyone just that wants to have a chat about what they're going through. When you are young and you're coming into refereeing, there's a lot of support there for you. Each club now has like a welfare officer that you can approach and you can speak to. And at the end of the day as well, it does take a lot of confidence to do it. But if you are subjected to any form of abuse, or you feel uncomfortable, the game doesn't go ahead without you. And being able to stop the game, being able to, if worst comes to worst, say, do you know what, this is not why I'm here. I'm here to ensure that this game is being played safe for the safety of the players and for the enjoyment of the players. And those two things have to come first. Yeah, they do a lot of good work in bringing to the attention the abuse that is directed towards referees. And I do agree with some of the things in terms of, I feel that the FA need to form some kind of campaign or support towards the referees, which filters down to the levels where I'm currently operating, and so many other people across the country are operating.
So before we get on to the quick fire questions, there was a couple of controversial incidents over the weekend, shall we say. I know we spoke about one of them. Let's start on Saturday with the Champions League final. Real Madrid had a goal disallowed. for offside. The ball came off Benzema and it hit a couple of Liverpool players. He was adjudged to be offside. What's your opinion?
Wow, yeah. We did have a little chat about this, but obviously
Just a little one, yeah.
for the viewers and for the viewers and everybody else, I can see both sides. From a refereeing perspective, in terms of to the letter of the law, to the wording that is written by IFAB, they adjudged that Karim Benzema was in an offside position because there were 3 touches on the ball. The first touch was from Valverde, in either trying to divert the ball towards the goal or to another player. That touch is then followed by a block, which comes in from Konate from Liverpool. And as he kind of blocks the ball pretty much stops kind of dead, I would say. And then the sliding in from Fabinho happens kind of simultaneously at the same time. And then the ball comes off of Fabinho's knee and into his path. So I completely get the frustrations of people. And I was super frustrated at the time because the ball's touched 2 Liverpool players and it's ended up at Benzema's feet. From the referee point of view, and going back to that kind of wording, it's has there been a deliberate play of the ball? And for 3 minutes or however long it actually took, I think it was maybe just a little bit longer than that, they deemed that at no point did Konate or Fabinho deliberately play the ball into Benzema's path. Now, I don't know any defending player that would deliberately pass the ball to an opponent for an open goal nip, pretty much. And my questions kind of came around the Konate challenge and obviously the Fabinho attempted block. I personally would see that as that's a deliberate play. I'm deliberately trying to block. I'm deliberately trying to prevent the ball from going towards the goal. And I think common sense kind of needs to come in, or the offside rule does need looking at in a little bit more detail, and to try and simplify that. I think a lot of people would agree with me in thinking, if the ball has come off of a Liverpool player, then Benzema should be in an onside position and the goal should stand. And personally, that's where I would come from on it. I would have loved to have seen the goal stand, waiting those 3 minutes in one of the biggest games of the season. Again, it sort of throws VAR into the spotlight, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, absolutely. I mean, my opinion, for what it counts, is that it was a goal. And I did say to you earlier I was going to reveal something to you. So here we go.
Oh, Hala Madrid.
There we go. That's it. That's all we'll say on that. Okay. The second controversial incident was in the playoff final on Sunday in what is probably a more financially rewarding game. Nottingham Forest beat Huddersfield 1-0, and Huddersfield had 2 very, very good penalty shouts.
Very, very good penalty shouts. Again, in my opinion, the fact that the game was awarded to Jonathan Moss was quite an interesting point, being it's his last game before he retires. Traditionally, if you've refereed in the Championship, and you've performed really well, that would be a great occasion for you to showcase what you can do. But going on to the decisions, I felt both were penalties. The first one, we use the wording clear and obvious, and you often hear that thrown around a lot when it comes to VAR. I think there is definite contact from Colback, and he actually makes a statement after the game where he said that there was contact between him and the player that went down. Once the referee has made his decision to book for simulation, to caution the player for simulation, that point there, the VAR, I think it was Paul Tierney at the weekend, should be saying, hold on, there's no simulation here. That is a clear and obvious error. I would advise you to go to the monitor, to go and have a look. Keep all your options open. But what I would say is I couldn't see there being no contact and the reason to try and win a penalty. The second one for me was a lot clearer. It's a challenge from behind. I think back to the 2012 Champions League final, Chelsea and Bayern Munich. Went to extra time, and Didier Drogba made a very similar tackle, which led to a penalty for Bayern Munich at the time. He's tackling from the wrong side. There's contact. It's clumsy. Again, it's that protocol of how VAR is being used, because if the referee hasn't seen it, he needs it brought to his attention. I'm probably going to go off a tiny bit here on a tangent when it comes to VAR, but I think football needs to have a little look at rugby when it comes to how referees are using the extra technology that's available to them. What you often see when a try has been scored, for example, in rugby, is straight away it's whistles blown, time off, and then straight away on the TV, the viewers have got access to the conversation that's being had between the on-field referee and the assistant referee that's in charge of the video replay, whether that's the VAR assistant or whatever. And he will say, right, we're going to go to VAR, or we're going to go upstairs, we're going to take a look at it. On field, my decision is I've got a try or I've got no try, but we're going to check it. So you can hear that conversation and you can say, for example, right, we're going to check this. On field, I've given a penalty, or sorry, I've given no penalty, but we're going to stop the game straight away. It's contention. We're going to stop the game, time off. Let's have a look at it. On field, I've got no penalty. Going to go over. Can I see the replay? I'm going to go to the monitor. I'm going to show it on the big screen. People can hear and see that dialogue of, oh, hold on, let me wind that back. Have we got another angle? Yeah, there's clear contact there from Colback on the player's leg. I'm going to reverse my decision. Okay, you're back on the screen. Penalty given. And that, I think, for fans is going to make things so much easier, because they're going to see that how they got to the decision that they got to. Being able to stop the clock, being able to have the video there. How are we using it to really kind of take that next step with VAR at the highest level?
Well, I mean, so I'll give my view on things. I mean, I saw the game, and first decision, a little bit contentious. I think, I don't know. Say if I'd have given a penalty. Second one, I think, was, as you said, absolutely clear and obvious. I think that should have been a penalty. But I am no disrespect to Huddersfield, but I am happy to see not Forest back in the Premier League. I think they belong up there as well. So congratulations to Nottingham Forest, and commiserations obviously to Huddersfield, and obviously good luck to both teams for next season. But I am going to come to the quick fire questions now for you, mate. So first of all, start, and can you tell everyone how old you are?
I am 31 years old.
And who do you support?
I am a Chelsea fan. I'm a big Chelsea fan.
Okay. Do you have any pets at all?
I've got two pets. I've got a dog and I've got a cat.
Names?
The dog is called Daisy and the cat is called Kotek, which is Polish for cat.
Ah, okay, okay. Pepsi or Coke?
Coca-Cola.
Okay. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Okay. So post-match drink when you're playing?
After the game, it's got to be a beer, lager,
Yeah.
but not
Yeah.
Foster's.
No. Ronaldo or Messi?
Messi. Messi all day. Yeah.
Who is your favourite player growing up?
I might get some stick off of some of my mates here. We actually were talking about this the other day. It was, well, Gianfranco Zola and also Mark Hughes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Chelsea. He's a Chelsea legend. He was there early 90s, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably more of a United legend than Chelsea, but he just scored some acrobatic and some lovely goals, which kind of really attracted me to supporting him kind of back in the day.
Okay, so going on from that, who's the referee that you most look up to?
Funnily enough, Pierluigi Collina.
Okay, okay.
Retired now, but I'd say in terms of now, it's probably Michael Oliver. I think he's our best referee.
Pre-match routine, playing or reffing, your choice.
Playing would be I'd never warm up with my shin pads on. They're one of the last things to go on. In terms of refereeing, always got my 2 watches on. But in terms of the coin toss, I usually give the home team heads and the away team tails. I don't give them the option of choice. So when I flip the coin, I assign heads or tails to the home or away team.
Oh, so that's interesting, because so you don't have to give, you know, the home team the choice or the away team the choice. You just say, right, your heads, your tails, bang, that's it.
Yeah, you see it quite often now when it comes to like penalty shootouts. You know, after extra time, I don't know if you saw with the FA Cup and League Cup finals, the referee assigns which end the kicks are going to be to the coin that's being tossed. So it's just something I've adopted, and you know, just something I use.
Okay. What about a pre-match meal or snack that you have?
I tend to have Weetabix in the morning or before a game, whether that's refereeing or playing. Nothing special really, just whatever's in the cupboards.
What is your earliest football memory, either playing or watching?
Watching, I'm going to say the FA Cup final 97, Chelsea versus Middlesbrough, the Roberto Di Matteo goal. That's one of the earliest ones. Yeah, I'll go with that.
That depresses me because I was 21 at the time. So yeah. What's your favourite moment in football, in your football career?
Chelsea lifting the Champions League 2012 in Munich. I was there, so yeah, that was a fantastic one.
Excellent. Do you have a favoured boot brand at all?
black boots only usually. I did break that last year when I was playing, but Adidas I tend to go with. Copa Mundials.
Okay. Who's your best friend in football?
Best friend in football. Currently, I'll go with my teammate at Hinton. He's the centre half, Adam Stancliffe. He's a big Leeds fan, proper northerner as well. So yeah.
Okay. And what's your favourite position?
That would be centre midfield.
Okay. You said about warming up without your shin pads. Is that a superstition, or do you have any superstitions at all?
So I've got a tattoo on my arm, which is a map of the world. Growing up, I was always interested in traveling, so I tend to kind of just glance down towards my arm. It kind of reminds me of where I am currently in the world and just sort of puts things into perspective. So no other real sort of superstitions, no.
Okay. You said earlier about having coaching badges for rugby, badminton, tennis, etc. But do you play any other sports at all?
Given a chance, I'll play anything and everything. Football obviously is the main one, but anytime I meet up with my dad, pool, snooker, darts tend to be the main ones really. I give my brother a good game at table tennis when I see him as well.
Excellent. Normally I leave this to the last question, but I have got a different one for you as the last question. Okay, so have you ever done an initiation song, and if so, what would you do?
Yeah, I did one. I did one actually mid-season at Buntingford Town last year, and that was The Killers. And what song was it? I can't even remember what song it was. I just remember I got to like the second verse and I started to forget the words. But it was, yeah. Funnily enough, it was meant to be me the week before, but the guy that they stood up actually stole my song. That was going to be Benny King, Stand By Me. But yeah, it was The Killers, Mr. Brightside. That was the song I sang.
Oh, yeah. So final question: reffing or playing?
Playing.
Excellent.
Playing.
Well, Scott, thanks very much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on here, and really appreciate you taking the time out to speak to us. And I'll see you during the week, mate.
Thanks very much, Si. Thanks for all you do in terms of the non-league football around this area. I'm gonna make sure that everyone gives the page a follow, a subscribe. I'll catch you in the week. We'll keep talking football. We'll keep talking work. But it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me this evening.
And I'm sure you'll see you officiating somewhere around the season.
Yeah, look out for my name.
Lovely. Cheers, buddy. Catch you later.
Cheers. See you later, Si.